Oh, wait, I'm in that one. I have to check. No, that's me. I didn't respond to "Are we on?" So okay. Like, yeah, no, that's literally like our weekly, like, oh, there's my dad. There you go. It sounds confusing.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? How was your week?
Well, it took me a while to get over jet lag. I mean,
Yeah.
I took it. I mean, I went to work, but I kind of taking it easy.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you
But
went,
thank
you
you.
did, you went right back to work though. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Well, yes, I did. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, well, I don't know. So, thank
But
you
that's
for
taking it easy.
Bombast magazine
What about, oh, yes. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Did
and
you see?
the Beacon grab bag. That's great.
Cool. Yeah, no, but there, do you know about Michael Findlay, the sort of exploitation filmmaker? Did you see? There's a feature in there about.
Oh, is that what? No, I'll be interested to read that. I did know about him because um, I don't know if it was probably he was killed around 1970. We
Yeah.
we
Yes.
were living at on Central Park West.
Okay.
The phone rang
Oh, wow.
at about midnight.
Yeah.
I remember getting out of bed, picking up the phone, which was in the desk across from the bed,
A
and a
physical
man
landline
said,
phone because this was the 70s.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, with a real phone, proper phone. And a man said, I'm so and so from the Daily News. Can I speak to one of Michael Findlay's survivors?
Wow. That's a way to wake up.
And I said, I'm Michael Findlay. He said, no, Michael Findlay's just been killed in a
Yeah.
helicopter accident on the
Yeah.
top
Oh,
of the Pan Am building.
oh wow. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
And I said, well, it's another Michael Findlay, obviously, because
Yeah.
the one that you're calling is okay. So anyway, then obviously I read in the news,
Mm-hmm.
um, he and his wife actually had a business together.
Hmm.
I've never seen any of their movies. I don't
Mm-hmm.
quite know what they were, semi-porn, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, read the article and yeah, no,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's
And I
interesting.
mean, he's good. In those days, of course, there was no Google, but he's
Well,
Googleable.
now, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you there is Michael Findlay, me, there's Michael Findlay, him, and there's Michael Findlay, a very, very famous, I think, Jamaican cricket player
Yes. Yeah, yeah, no. Yes. No, yes,
who,
I'm familiar with that Michael
who,
Findlay as well.
who
Um
the manager of my CVS store used to joke with me about, because he was from Jamaica.
oh
You
yes.
don't look like you play
Yeah.
cricket,
Yes. So I know, well, yeah, no, I know three Bob Findlays. I've talked about this. We're all friends on Facebook. We're all obviously of Scottish descent. One lives in Scotland and has his whole life. One lives in Australia. Um, and we're all musicians of some sort or another, but though both of them are more professionally musicians. And we all
Wow.
wish each other happy birthday when it comes up on Facebook that like, but yeah, I mean
That's
that's
really
when
nice, actually. That's
no, it's fine. Yeah, no, it's but I think we've only discovered each other because we have the same name
yeah,
and or got
yeah,
mistagged at some point or some
sure.
yeah yeah
So
yeah.
how was your week?
My week was weird. It had its ups and downs. I hired a new person. I have a full team now of 5, which is the first time in 2024. Which means some of the work I've been doing, I can now finally. Well, once they're fully trained and on board, I can
Yeah.
finally not be. No, I had a fine week. How was your week? Tell me about the. I mean, well, earthquake. But did you feel it at all? Did you? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I was in my office in the gallery on the 5th floor. There were other staff there. I don't think
Yeah.
we had any visitors in the gallery.
Right.
I thought, like many people, it was construction or
Construction. That's what everyone.
by, and then it went on for a little bit too long. And
Yeah.
then I was the only person on the 5th floor. Then I went downstairs and Al Ackerville was on
Yeah.
the 3rd floor. He came up. Most of the staff were on the 4th floor, and we all looked at each other and said, "Well, that felt like an earthquake." And then, of course, we went online, and it was. But I mean, it was not nothing. Nothing fell off the wall. I mean, it wasn't a.
Right. Right. But the epicenter was New Jersey, and which is funny that it was reported as a
Of
New
course, what
York.
do you expect?
Yeah. No, I know. That's what New Jersey has to say about it. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Yeah.
so uh, but of course, because it was a slow news day,
Mm-hmm.
the New York Post had screaming headlines,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, and except no damage done, and
Right.
very,
No. Right. I mean, well, but
people
no.
panic.
Yes, I think. Well, much of the reactions that I saw, not necessarily from the press, who, like you said, I did feel like a slow news day. I saw dueling polls that each said each political candidate was up in the swing states, but they were both published yesterday, and I was like, well, I guess they're both up, so whatever. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, I didn't see. Yeah, but in the social media, what I mostly saw was New Yorkers making jokes. I'm walking here, just like the basic reactions, and Californians kind of roasting New Yorkers. But again, I didn't see any New Yorkers really freaking out. It didn't sound like there was any damage. And then,
We got what we all found very amusing was we all got an alert an hour later on the phone.
oh, from who was it? Is it that like a government sponsored?
Yeah,
But
government
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Well,
we
you're
all think, oh, like Eric Adams must have been,
yeah.
where was he? So, but in fact, the alert was to say there might be aftershocks.
Sure, no, which is valid. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There
Which
was
is
one at 6, but I didn't notice it.
right. I was in a 4.7 in San Francisco when I lived there. Because I was living in a van, I felt it, but no one else felt it. One person said they woke up and things had been kind of slightly tilted, like a picture frame slightly off,
Yeah,
but not
yeah,
not
yeah.
knocked off the wall, just slightly crooked, and they didn't know why. But most people had slept through it because it had been in the middle of the night, and again, unless you were like in a van and right on the ground. But I guess that to me that's to me I guess the one sort of reaction to is how much of New York lives with just sort of constant noise and chaos and whatnot that you would just assume it's construction or the subway, or
Uh,
you wouldn't necessarily mistake it for your regular everyday anyway. So
I think there are probably a large number of people who are not necessarily attached to the news,
yes.
who will never know that it
No,
happened.
right. No, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
All
I
right, what?
did actually, coincidentally, my colleague Joyce, who I was in Hong Kong with, who is from Taiwan,
Yes.
she went to Taiwan to be with her family for
Yes.
a few days, and I I texted her as soon as I heard about that.
Yes, no, yes.
She's she's in Taipei, which is on the other side, but she said, yeah, it was very significant,
That's a real earthquake. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I saw.
but they expect it. So all the
Huh.
buildings in Taiwan are basically earthquake
Well,
proof.
because all the pictures I saw were of one building, which kind of told
Yes,
me that, yeah, 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 yeah,
that
that,
was the one. There were maybe one or two buildings that partially collapsed, but
yeah,
they didn't actually,
yeah.
no building kind of,
Went all
and
the right. No, exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
like the hotel in Miami or wherever it was a
yeah.
few years
All
ago.
right. What about eclipse? Any interest? I know you're
I,
not
I,
quite in the path, but you're kind of in the path.
um, two things. One, it brought back memories of being in the playground of a school. I must have been 8 or 9 years old,
Huh.
and we were issued small squares of cardboard,
Cardboard, just with
yellow on one side,
yeah,
had pinholes in them.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I remember that we were more fascinated by those.
yeah.
Well, I remember those. I'm sure I held it up and I saw an eclipse. Um, the other thing is that I was doing my stretching probably yesterday morning, and they had an astronomer on the news, a woman who teaches astronomy at NYU, and she said, and she had one, you could use a colander if you didn't have anything else.
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah.
So I thought that was that was an interesting factoid that some people are buying or they have, hundreds of $1,000s worth of photographic equipment, and they're rushing out to, spots in the middle of the desert. And other
Yeah.
people, I guess, lazily picking up their colanders and
Well, I mean, okay. So for me, who is not, if you look at the path, I am so far out of it. I am the farthest you can be away from it. We will only get 10% of an eclipse. We are
oh,
so it
okay.
won't be anything for us. So the fact that this has been national news for weeks is, and it really is. If you look at the path, it's like a
Yeah.
pretty narrow band who is going to get a real experience. I mean, and I'm fascinated by all. Okay, so in some places, National Guard has been mobilized. In some places, I would say, especially in small towns, concerns, I mean, are as basic as like parking and porta potties. Do we have enough for all the visitors who are going to come just to see this?
They're
Delta
gonna
has
see it in
flights.
shit. It's
What?
that they're gonna see it in shit.
Well, no, they're gonna. They're gonna. Well, just that people are coming. No, well, okay. So again, this is how it's being reported to me, who is completely removed from it. But that there is hysteria. Like I said, National Guard has been mobilized. Schools are shutting down for the day, and I'm like, really? Because it's only 5 minutes. Like, and I remember, like you said, doing it in school. It was a school event, but it does happen to coincide in many of these states with when school gets out. And
Oh,
so rather than deal with the chaos of are the teachers responsible, are the parents responsible, I do kind of get that.
oh, I
But,
see. Yeah.
I mean, there's no, but also just in the 21st century, I have noted working in this field, schools are much more likely to close down. I mean, we are in a world where Bernie is trying to introduce a 4-day work week where a lot of people really do kind of, I don't know, like schools are much more quick to close down than they used to. That's a whole separate topic. Um, but yeah, no, I think there's been a lot of national attention. Some of which I'm like, is the hysteria? It feels like hysteria. But like you said, some people are literally putting colanders, but they're also warning if you point your phone, especially or expensive photographic equipment at the sun for too long, you can damage it. So you may need special filters if you have expensive photographic equipment. Um, I don't know. Yeah,
I I would I would be interested in following. This is on Monday, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's look at the news on Tuesday, see if it's about millions of people have broken phones, or whether there's kind of nothing much
No,
said at
right.
all.
No, because I mean they even mentioned like cell phones, and I know for a fact because I use my phone to do time-elapse photography of skylines that includes when the sun is pointed directly at the phone for at least, for hours at a time, and
Right.
it's fine. So yeah, no, again, I don't. Yeah, I think
It's a slow news season. I
it's a
think
slow news season. So
uh,
speaking of which, what's going on? What else? What is interesting to you?
well, I'll tell you what was interesting to me, which I'm sure you have strong views about, which
Mm.
is that I read that Portland has rescinded some of its laws about its laws.
Recriminalization drugs. Yes.
Yeah,
Um.
and they're kind of reversing course,
Yeah. I no.
saying that we should have spent more money on rehabilitation facilities before we, I don't know. So
No,
tell
okay.
me.
I see that. Okay, I see that as a pattern of. No, I do see it, and we're seeing it in Seattle as well. Our city council, people call them moderate, people call them centrist, but we had a really well. We kicked out a Democratic socialist, or she left voluntarily. But yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't think she even elected to rerun. She saw the tone the city was going. No, this is a move, and this is pandemic era, and you know my strong views on this. This is the slow news cycle of people living unsheltered visibly, not people living unsheltered who have always existed and will continue to exist, especially in major cities, but who exist more visibly or less visibly due to certain circumstances. People living unsheltered more visibly, drug use, and crime, which are three separate topics. I don't deny that they're not interconnected or woven. When you're talking about crime and getting tough on crime, for instance, our city attorney, she it's a nonpartisan position, but she formally ran in different positions as a Republican. She says, well, it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to say her position now because it's a nonpartisan position. She cracked down on crime, but some of those crimes include like shoplifting and a woman. One of the examples of the high crime, the what was, I can't remember her terminology. There was a specific terminology, high use, but it was someone who had stolen from the Target downtown more than 20 times. But this was a woman who was living unsheltered who had stolen feminine hygiene products, toothbrushes, batteries. I know I can't describe, but the point.
It's not a crime spree of bank robbers.
This isn't a crime spree of bank robbers, and more importantly, if we're talking about what back to your question, these are things that the city should be providing, or someone should be providing somewhere. Someone should be
Yeah.
providing socks, toothbrushes, and feminine hygiene products at a minimum to everyone living on shelter. I mean, that's a basic. So if she's shoplifting them, rather than putting her in jail, if she's been arrested 20 times, that tells you 20 times has not taught her anything, and that's not going to teach her anything, nor is it going to solve her problem. So what is making making it tough on her? Okay, now we're going to put her in jail longer. Okay, well, great, because for 72 hours you will be supplying her feminine hygiene products, but when she gets out, how are you effectively solving her problem? So if the point is to remove dollars from X to give it to Y, okay, our city council just approved a 23% increase. It will now push Seattle police, I think, to the highest paid in the country, over $100,000. Again, these are for people with no, not I don't want to say, because I think it's actually great that there are jobs for people with no college degrees. I think that's important, but this now makes this more, and people who have oftentimes come from other police departments where they've already had bad behavior because there are no rules and whatnot. We have 6 who are still on the payroll who were at January 6th. They were not inside the Capitol building, so they aren't charged, or they're not. But they were there, and they're still on Seattle Police Department payroll. So paying them more now, does that make sense to me? No. these are my, you asked me, how long have I been talking? I'm sorry. Yeah, these are my very strong
Well,
beliefs.
yeah.
I think we definitely, back to, no, your very specific question around drugs. Harm reduction, we need to pay more for harm reduction. But that will talk about crazy times that the Republicans will absolutely seize on, including drug injection sites. Places where people can go and safely inject drugs. That is an actual logical thing that exists in Canada that I don't see a way to explain to make sense to all of America right now. But harm reduction sites where people go to legally use drugs actually make sense. Because otherwise they're going to use drugs and go and drive and go and do and go out and be in
Well,
society.
they're also, if there are harm reduction sites, it's possible that there could be some monitoring when people overdose. There's somebody closer by.
And many of those people who the actual path from harm reduction sites to sobriety is so much greater than criminal justice to sobriety. So,
Yeah, I don't think there is criminal justice to sobriety. I don't
well,
think
there's
that.
enforced. You can sign my thing, and
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, that's right. I mean,
So
but
you say Seattle is going in the same direction as Portland, and it's going to the right, basically.
well, it's going in response to national conversations that are being directed again by media and slow news days, which, if those are, then Fox is the still most people get their news from Fox. I mean, it's even I'm not on the your coast or where you are or I
Yeah,
am, but so the slow news days then push the national conversations towards
yeah.
those things. Um,
So this was disturbing to me, although I kind of expect it. Um, I was very struck. This is like, I don't know, 20 years ago, when Victoria and I took a trip to Berlin, and I've been there since briefly for a couple of days,
sure.
that it struck me as being an extremely open, positive environment for artists of all kind, hospitable to young people, very cheap to live. The
Yeah.
government sponsored lots and lots of cultural events, regardless of whether they had any commercial value or not. In other words, it was kind of the kind of ideal environment that you might have had in New York a long time ago.
Or Seattle 5 years ago before city council. I'm like, everything you're describing. I'm like, we had this. We just had this. Like, I'm so no, but go on.
Well,
I'm listening.
so what's happened now is, well, the example they gave is that you know Laurie Anderson, she's a kind of avant-garde violinist. She's the same
Oh,
generation.
yeah. We saw her at BAM. You took me to see
Yeah,
Laurie
yeah.
Anderson at BAM.
So and
Oh, Superman,
she
and
actually she met oh Lou Reed. She met Lou Reed in Berlin in
oh, they've had
19.
lots of they've collaborated. Yes, no,
She
okay.
lived
This is my
there.
language. Yes, this is my love
So,
language.
so
Laurie Reed and Laurie
she
Anderson. Yeah.
was, and she said basically she got her start because of being given grants to be able to perform in Berlin in the 70s.
Yeah.
So she was
Yeah.
invited back with a foundation grant, I think to be somewhere for 6 months or to teach or something. And some blogger found that 2 years ago,
Oh,
she was one of 16,000 people who had signed a pro-Palestine petition. It wasn't anti-Jewish, it wasn't
right.
anti-Israel. And she was, at that point, when this was publicized, the people who were providing her grant basically called her in and said, "You have to explain yourself." So she decided to leave. She said, I'm not explaining myself." But the point was that many museum exhibitions have been closed. People have been people's grants have been taken back, speeches and lectures have been canceled by anybody who has expressed sympathy for what's happening in Gaza is in Germany interpreted entirely as being anti-Semitic, and the German guilt is so great that it can only. I mean, the emphasis was that the only way that German guilt can continue to be assuaged if Israel is unconditionally supported and allowed to exist.
Right.
So that if you go against that because you have convictions or you believe there should be a two-state solution, you are undermining Germany's current reason for being.
Right.
And if that goes, then the guilt that they have no compensation. They have no emotional compensation for the guilt of the Holocaust. In other words, the guilt of the Holocaust is being kept at bay, in a sense, by being totally pro-Israel.
Okay.
It's bizarre. I mean,
Okay.
historically,
Okay.
it's very bizarre.
Okay. That's a very specific. I mean, more well, to broaden it out. I mean, as you know, because we talk about lots of things, but we don't talk about this a lot. And I am very reluctant to talk about any of this on the internet for the reason that I don't want to be taken out of context. I don't want. I mean, no one watches my show. Currently, no one watches this show. When it was labeled with your full name, we got some views, but I don't know. I don't, and I don't always upload these either. But
Well, okay. I mean, that in and of itself is, I agree with you. Okay. But that in and of itself is an indication of how
the chilling effect.
free speech is being muffled by
The
this.
chilling effect. It's called the chilling effect, and it is
chilling
intentional.
effect. Regardless of what side you're on, regardless of your opinion, right?
Yeah. No, that's the no, and that is the point. No, and I understand that. But yeah, in the current climate, I'm really, really reluctant to talk about any of this. I have a job that is some of the dollars come from federal funds, and who knows who's good. Yeah. So,
well, that's fine. We've
no, that's not my response though. No, let me process this for a second and say no and no. Well, we discussed it. That's the chilling effect, and that's the point. That is the point. I mean, that's the point on. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
No, right. I mean, again, the oh well.
It's probably a good thing. I'll only say this: it's probably a good thing that the revisions, or not the revisions, the additions I made to my first book were made when they were, and I didn't have to make them now. Because if I had to write now,
yes,
about changes in the art world over the last 10 years,
yes,
then that's an issue that would have to be addressed.
yes.
Because
tell me a
my
little
knowledge,
bit.
it's never happened, other than in a totally totalitarian society where, Hitler declared certain art, abstract art, degenerate and just kicked people out. But
Right.
where the freedom of artists to express themselves was being compromised in many different parts of the world. So that's happened in the last, since October the 6th, simply as that.
I'm
not saying who's responsible for
No,
it.
I know, because
That's
this is
the
so
fact.
important, because many people are using this as a like yeah. Wow, you got me at a loss, which I'm normally not at, but
Okay, new topic.
no. Give me 1 second. No, no, we're good. We have a little bit of time, or we have a little bit of time. Give me 1 second because I do want to say something on this. Because I think many people are using this, specifically using this as an opportunity to bludgeon in their perspectives as far as, at the same time as we can't talk about anything, well, now we can talk about everything. Now we can introduce, well, if that perspective is okay, that I at the same time, I also think, as we kind of, I guess we started with, the current media is failing us, and as we go into an election season, Instagram and Meta and Facebook and all of that now removing political content. I don't know if you heard about that, or if that even.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's the solution, to remove it?
Well, no, it's not remove it. I'm sorry, it's not remove it. It is to make it less visible, and now you can only get content from the people you subscribe to. So you can only. Right? No, thank you. Right.
Okay.
And if you don't want limited political content, you have to go in specifically, and this is Facebook, Instagram, which I know you're on, but you don't use Instagram. So, okay, this is the weirdest thing. Most Americans get their news from Instagram. I'm like, how? Most of my Instagram is filled with like cats.
I don't get any news.
I don't get any news. I don't even know how you would get news. So this is me and you as older Americans admitting we don't even know how that is possible, but it apparently.
Well, I guess there. Well,
No.
I follow one friend of mine who's a filmmaker. He's my age,
Yes.
and he has in his posts, which are often about I don't know, Italian movie making of the 60s or whatever, but he has very specific political points of view,
Sure.
which I actually never disagreed with.
But that's not. Oh, but it's not political. It's news. How do you get your news from Instagram? I don't understand that. But they say more than X, which is now formerly Twitter, and I am so mad that all journalists continue to stay on X. Like, I think once Musk owned it, everyone should have disavowed it, but it still continues to be the town square, quote unquote, but he owns it. I don't use it anymore at all. I stopped using it literally the day he bought it.
I didn't even know what it was. I mean, I knew what it was, but I didn't.
Oh, okay. But when I used it, it was a source of news in the sense that the way they organize things. That being said, my Instagram feed, and I don't know, is not. There's no way that news gets in. I mean, sometimes
there's no news.
There's no news.
It's all usually art images and
right. For me, it's all it's local Seattle stuff, political stuff, whatever it is. But it's tailored to you and not. But again, getting it more tailored to you is not going to make it.
It's the echo chamber. It means that I'm not going to be near anybody who may be able to express intelligently a point of view that might be different from my own, right?
Right.
But everything is a very blunt instrument now, and nobody has time to think about anything very deeply, do they? I mean, you look at the news. The news says Biden's up or Biden's down or Trump's up or Trump's down. And nothing is going to matter until November the 5th.
I know. I mean, and that's why I'm I was already pre-exhausted for the next 8 months. Like, it's already it's just. And it's
Are we excited that someone's got more money than somebody else? I don't know. I mean, what does that mean?
Right. No,
Maybe you're richest the person. Maybe we could just say the politician who can raise the most money gets to be president.
That should be it. No, yes, we could just do it. Yeah, no, national referendum.
Return all that money to the treasury so that our taxes are lower. Right?
RFK, and we've talked about him.
Terrible, terrible man. I mean, no, I mean, I can say that because his relatives say that. I mean, a true I mean, I mean, a deeply, deeply damaged individual. I mean, I should feel sorry for him if he wasn't doing so much damage with his opinions. I would feel sorry for him because of what he must have endured to turn out like this. He's angry. I think he's an angry man.
Yeah.
Um, I get that feeling, and not a nice person to know, not a somebody you'd want. I mean, apart from his politics, and now he's chosen this very, very rich young woman. I don't hold it against her that she's attractive, but I mean it's a pandering, it's a ploy, obviously, you know.
Hmm.
Um, it's cynical. I think he's cynical.
Have you heard any news about? Okay, so 2 days ago he sent out a mailer that said something supporting January 6th
No, I
people.
didn't know that.
Okay, well, look it up. And then his campaign said, no, 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 no. That was, we fired that person. That was, and again, they were the first campaign to ever admit, we don't write, even if it's written in the person's own, RFK says blah, blah, blah. We don't write that. Blah, blah. You know that. We all know that. But they said, we fired that person. Then NBC went back and did a long look. He's been defending these people for a long time. He's been saying, well, unlike Trump, who says, I will pardon those people, he's saying, well, I will look into those cases. I think they've been treated very harshly. It's not an insurrection. An insurrection is blah, blah, blah. He's been, so, I mean, no, yes, he's,
So he's pandering to Trump's base.
right, which is, well, I mean, again, who is this good for? Who is this bad for? And who's going to start cheering for him if it's good for them, even if he's so bad? And that makes, we've talked about this in other, where Democrats have paid for, and I've talked about this.
It's a very, very bad thing to do.
It's a very, very bad thing to do, but I suspect someone's going to start doing it if they see it's politically
The
effective.
Democrats will start supporting him if they think he's going to take Trump voters.
Which is so ugly because he knows that, and he, like you said, he'll just pivot and then like, yeah, no, that's a losing proposition. All right, in our last couple of minutes, or well, if you have one more topic, do you have one more?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
Boeing.
riled up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
Who's the politician who said I'm riled? Oh no, maybe that was a movie. I don't know.
yeah.
Okay, thoughts about a movie I haven't seen, but I read about called Three Body Solution or
Oh
something.
yes, okay. People are talking about that. Yes,
So-
it's a Netflix thing. I don't do Netflix, so I can't. I will never be able to talk about
There's
this
a
unless
Chinese movie that's
Yes.
apparently
yes.
hugely popular there. I'm gonna.
And what drew you to the? What made it
I
interesting?
read an article about it, and I was fascinated by the fact that because China has such a highly censored movie industry, how
Yes,
they managed to make a movie which it may have no political ramifications, but
but
is
it, yeah,
very successful. You know.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, yeah, I don't, yeah, I have nothing to say about that except I've heard about it, so it's made a cultural impact.
I'll watch it and let you know.
Yeah, please
I'll
do.
watch it for you. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on Boeing, the airplane company? I don't know how much is getting national
Well,
news versus.
I I am astonished that they haven't been shut down by the government. And I think it's only because of their financial power and the amount of money they must make for the country, because it's clear that they make shitty airplanes that fall apart.
Okay, opinions I express are purely my own. Yes, no, it is clear. No, it's 100% clear. Okay, but I have to be very, very clear. My office is based in Renton, where Boeing's
I know.
headquarters also is. When
That's
I'm
why
in
I'm saying
traffic,
this.
I'm in traffic with Boeing engineers who are.
I feel sorry for them. I don't blame the people
No.
who work at Boeing.
No,
I
but
think
well,
they-
I blame the executives who have known this for years, who have been
Yes.
who are currently fighting the engineers who are trying to get a contract that adds more protections for safety,
Yes.
and they're literally legally fighting them to not add more safety protections.
I'm
Yeah, no,
sure
I
they
do
are,
blame
because
Boeing, and
yeah,
again, like I said, opinions I
all
express.
about profit, and if we lose a few thousand passengers because we sold planes to
This is.
Malaysia.
Do you remember Ford in the '70s where that memo came out where, well, we realize this car is dangerous. It was the Pinto, but
Yeah,
we
yeah,
will.
yeah.
But we can pay. But
You
paying
had
out
one.
liability, paying out insurance liability is cheaper. That they literally posted a memo that paying out insurance liability on deaths is cheaper than fixing the problem. So that's what we're gonna
Yeah.
do. And that was. That was the '70s. And that was like corporate malfeasance. But here we are in the
Oh, no, but
2024.
somebody somewhere has done that calculation for Boeing.
No, Boeing does it all the time, and it's very. Some of those have. But okay, so a Boeing whistleblower in South Carolina died, and his family under
Oh,
suspicion. I
that's
mean,
right.
it's gonna get really. It's I. So no, we'll talk more about Boeing, but
Okay.
yeah, I. But again, how much I can talk about them. Parents at childcare that I support work for Boeing. They are an employer, a major employer. They employ I think 131,000 people worldwide. The biggest thing, my first experience with Boeing, and we'll just end with this kind of, when I moved to this region, was that Boeing was a referendum that I was allowed to vote on because I had moved, because I lived here now. That said, basically, will we give Boeing more money? And if we do, they promise to stay in the region. That referendum was passed. They took the money and then
Yeah,
moved all the jobs to South Carolina.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
then this is Boeing. This is has
Oh,
always, and that
yeah.
was 2006 or seven or whatever when I first
Yeah.
moved here.
They're
So,
really good. They really stick to their word, right? Yeah.
yeah, and I don't want to be like the worst company in America, but
Well, they have some competition for that.
I love you.
Chick-fil-A, right? Is that
Say it again.
Chick-fil-A? Isn't that one of the largest?
Oh, I won't talk about that. Yeah, I can't. They're not my favorite either. A lot of companies going out of business too. 99 cent only, and
Yeah.
yeah. That one in Las Vegas. I think I took you to. Like I miss.
Yeah, yeah. Those are good stores. They're
Those are
very
good
good.
stores, and for communities that need them, those are good stores. I mean, they're not the greatest stores, but
Oh, I know. They do
that's
need.
where I bought vitamins. I bought vitamins at 99 cent only, and I need to like people need to understand when I lived, when I worked, when I made, well, not even minimum wage because people don't understand. When you work for tips, you make like there's a special wage, and I was working
Yeah.
at 213 an hour. That's what I was allowed to be paid, and I declared my tips. This was in Las Vegas. This was in well, no,
Nice.
this was in 2001. This was in this decade. This was in this era. Not this decade, but this was in this century. This wasn't the '90s. I was in Las Vegas. I was making 213 an hour plus tips, but no tips because Caro's was struggling and has now long since gone out of business. But yeah, the 99 cent only store was where I could buy stuff. That
Yeah.
was where I could buy vitamins and food.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so. Okay, I love you.
All
I
right. I
miss.
love you. I love you, Bob.
We'll
Take care.
talk next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.